Good evening, film enthusiasts. Today, we present our movie for all fans of fantasy and adventure. The film is written and directed by Volodymyr, starring Eva Kushova, Daniel Kaminsky, Ivan Denisenko, and Roman Lutsky. The film begins with the protagonist, Vito, sleeping and having a modern-day dream. The dream is about Vito being in a car, which is involved in a high-speed accident. His mother wakes him up to see a solar eclipse with his friends who are waiting below. However, Vito expresses his fear of heights and his dislike for them. His mother tries to reassure him, saying it's just like a pinprick, and he shouldn't worry as the water will lift him up. Vito changes his clothes and prepares to join his friends in the garden. In the garden, he meets his friends, and Vito has built his own airplane, which he starts flying. He is very happy with it, and even his classmates and their teacher are impressed by the airplane, catching the attention of girls. Then the teacher tells them that to fully enjoy the eclipse, they need to climb the mountain, which scares Vito, who dislikes heights. Before reaching the mountain, Vito's friend forgot to bring him and wanted to go back home. As they approach the mountain, there is a suspended bridge in the air, which they have to cross to reach the mountain. Each student crosses it, and when it's Vito's turn, he starts walking but becomes very afraid and unable to move forward. The other students tease him, and his friend Max, the only one encouraging him to cross, tries to convince him that it's a simple thing and not difficult. However, Vito, being a coward, retreats and doesn't complete the bridge. He goes and sits alone on the side among the rocks. Max goes to console him, trying to ease his worries and persuade him to join them, saying it's easy and not challenging. But Vito remains fearful and wishes he hadn't left his house that day. The solar eclipse begins, and at that moment, a strong earthquake occurs. Max falls from the rocks, and Vito tries to save him but fails. At the same time, Vito falls into a time loop and finds himself in a strange world with peculiar people. He encounters a person fighting with a sword, surrounded by others also wielding swords and wanting to kill him. However, this courageous man captures Vito's attention, and the others hesitate to approach him. But before they get closer, the brave man quickly takes Vito, mounts a horse, and they swiftly ride away to escape. During this time, Vito loses consciousness, and the courageous man takes him to his village. When Vito wakes up, he finds himself among many unfamiliar people dressed strangely. One person in the village, their leader, asks them to detain Vito until they know who he is, what he is doing there, and how he arrived. Later, they come to know that his name is Olishko. Afterward, one of the men from the group that was fighting Olishko appears and tells their sorcerer that they couldn't capture Olishko because of the sudden appearance of Vito. The sorcerer asks him about Vito's appearance and how he looks. He wants to see a mark and asks if Vito has that mark. The soldier replies that the mark was indeed present on Vito. This is when we learn that these evil people have been waiting for a long time for Vito to arrive in their world because he possesses immense power and strength that they need to obtain from him. Later, Vito appears in prison, and a girl named Alinka comes to give him some food and deliver a message. Alinka, a petite and determined young woman with fiery red hair, had been a loyal friend of Vito's late wife, Isabella. She knew of Vito's innocence and had been tirelessly working to uncover the truth behind Isabella's murder. As Alinka approached Vito's cell, her heart raced with a mix of anxiety and hope. She had obtained crucial evidence that could potentially exonerate Vito and bring the real culprits to justice. With each step she took, her determination grew stronger, fueled by her unwavering belief in Vito's innocence. Setting the tray of food down, Alinka glanced around to ensure no guards were nearby. She leaned closer to Vito and whispered urgently, "Vito, listen carefully. I've made progress in your case. I've found evidence that proves you didn't kill Isabella." Vito's eyes widened with a glimmer of newfound hope. He had spent years behind bars, his spirit slowly eroded by the weight of a wrongful conviction. But now, Alinka's words offered a glimpse of a different future, one filled with freedom and justice. Alinka continued in hushed tones, "I've discovered a witness who saw someone else at the scene of the crime. They're willing to testify and provide an alibi for you. We have a chance to expose the truth and clear your name." A mix of emotions surged through Vito's veins. Relief washed over him, but doubts and fears still lingered. "Alinka, this is incredible news, but how can we trust this witness? What if it's a trap?" Vito's voice trembled with a mix of excitement and caution. Alinka understood Vito's concerns and nodded empathetically. "I've been cautious, Vito, but I've thoroughly vetted this person. They have no reason to lie, and their testimony aligns with other evidence I've uncovered. We need to seize this opportunity." Vito's gaze shifted from Alinka to the small, barred window that offered a narrow view of the outside world. The prospect of freedom beckoned, but the road ahead remained uncertain. Yet, with Alinka's determination and the newfound hope in his heart, Vito knew he couldn't let this chance slip away. Alinka, you've been a true friend to both Isabella and me, Vito whispered, his voice filled with gratitude. Let's move forward together. I'm ready to fight for my innocence and honor Isabella's memory. Alinka's eyes shimmered with tears of relief as she reached out and clasped Vito's hand through the cold bars. We won't rest until justice is served, Vito. Together, we'll uncover the truth and bring those responsible to their knees. In that moment, their bond grew stronger, fueled by a shared mission and unwavering determination. Vito and Alinka, united by a common cause, were prepared to face the challenges that lay ahead. Little did they know that their journey would test their resolve and unearth dark secrets, but they were determined to fight for justice and reclaim Vito's stolen freedom. Later, Vito learns from Alinka about the whereabouts of the sorcerers and decides to visit them. On his way, he encounters the girl Alinka and asks her for help in finding the location of the sorcerers, as Alinka had mentioned to him. Their journey begins, traversing through hills, valleys, and strange places. Eventually, Vito arrives at a peculiar place, a world like ice, where he hears a voice asking him, "What brought you here?" Vito explains that he wants to undo the current time and return to his own time. The sorcerer agrees but asks him a few questions. Vito agrees and is then asked, "What do you fear the most?" The voice warns him that if he lies, he will never leave this place again. Vito agrees and confesses that his greatest fear is heights due to a past incident. The sorcerer recognizes his honesty and asks him to fulfill a few requests to obtain a stone that will help him return. Vito embarks on his adventure, but suddenly the villains spot him. Before they can capture him, the villagers come to his rescue. The sorcerer of the villains scolds his soldiers for their failure to capture the boy. The villagers interrogate one of the captured villains and learn that they intend to kidnap Vito because he possesses a stone with a mysterious magical power. The villagers, along with Vito, search for the stone, and the village elder hides it in a high place in the village to prevent it from being stolen and used by the villains to harm the villagers. However, a stroke of lightning strikes the tall tower, causing the stone to fall in front of the captive Vito. They take him to the sorcerer of the villains. However, it is not enough because Vito himself possesses the magical power. On another day, the villains attempt to kidnap Alinka, but when they return to their sorcerer, he scolds them, saying that he wants the boy, not the girl. Later, Vito manages to reach Alinka, and the villains instruct him to infuse the stone with his own power, although he is unaware of its true nature. Vito deceives them, pretending to infuse the stone, and tricks them using the fireworks he has. However, they capture him and force him to infuse the stone against his will, but Alinka helps him do so. One of the villains manages to escape, allowing them to leave. Later, the villains attack their own village, but with the help of Alinka, they overcome the power of their sorcerer. Vito notices a solar eclipse and bids farewell to the villagers. However, the villains attack the village again, and Vito returns to assist them. Together, they manage to get rid of the stone, throwing it into the sea, completely eliminating the villains. Vito quickly returns to the pit, says goodbye to Alinka, and returns to his own world. There, he finds Max still stuck on the rocks and rescues him, recounting everything that happened to him. However, Max, of course, does not believe a word.